Have you ever looked in the mirror after an argument and not recognized the person looking back? The anger was so hot, so sudden, the words sharp and unfamiliar, leaving a trail of confusion and shame. For years, you've worn the identity of the good person, the reliable one, the one who smooths things over, the one who never makes a scene. Your goodness is a beautiful, polished porcelain mask. Safe, admired. But the day comes when a crack appears. A small thing, a forgotten favor, a boundary crossed one too many times, and a rage you didn't know you possessed erupts. In the quiet aftermath, you ask yourself, where did that come from? This is one of the most painful paradoxes of the human psyche. The harder you work to be only good, the more ferocious the monster becomes when it finally breaks free. The pioneering psychologist Carl Jung saw this not as a moral failing, but as a law of our inner world. He taught that what we consciously reject in ourselves does not disappear, it simply goes into the shadow. It gathers energy in the dark, waiting. You see, you are not creating an outer monster. You are starving an essential part of your inner self. And that starving part will eventually burn the whole house down just to be seen. But what if that monster, that sudden, terrifying stranger, isn't an enemy to be defeated? What if it is a messenger, a prisoner of your own goodness, begging for a voice? The monster doesn't arrive unannounced. It sends whispers long before it screams. These whispers are subtle. They sound like a deep, unexplainable fatigue at the end of a perfect day. They feel like the phantom ache of resentment when you say yes, while every cell in your body is begging to say no. They taste like the bitter aftertaste of a compliment you gave that you didn't truly mean. We ignore these whispers, because to acknowledge them is to acknowledge the truth. The truth is that the identity of the good person is not who you are. It is a structure you have built, a persona, a full-time job with no pay, no holidays, and impossibly high standards. Consider Sarah, a 42-year-old teacher. On the surface, her life is a testament to goodness. She is the first to volunteer for the school bake sale. She stays an hour late to help a struggling student, even when her own children are waiting. In meetings, when a colleague proposes an idea she knows is flawed, she smiles and says, "That's an interesting perspective." She swallows her truth, her expertise, her intuition, all in the service of being seen as supportive, agreeable, good. Her friends call her a saint. Her colleagues say she's indispensable. Her persona is a masterpiece of social harmony. But the cost of this performance is astronomical. It's paid with a currency Carl Jung would call psychic energy. Every time Sarah says yes when she means no, a little bit of this energy is spent. Every time she smiles through frustration, another bit drains away. Every time she silences her own needs to accommodate someone else's, the debt grows. She isn't just tired from her work. She is in a state of profound psychic exhaustion. Her soul is running on empty. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, the monster appears. Not at school, not at home, but at the express lane at the grocery store. The person in front of her has 12 items, not 10. The cashier is new and fumbles with a coupon. It's a delay of maybe 90 seconds, insignificant. But for Sarah, whose inner reservoir is completely dry, it is the final crack in the dam. A voice cold and sharp cuts through the air, her voice.
Can you not read the sign? It says 10 items or less. Some of us have places to be. The words hang in the air, dripping with a venom she doesn't recognize. The cashier looks stunned. The man in front flushes with embarrassment. And Sarah, she is flooded with a tidal wave of shame so powerful it makes her dizzy. She wants the floor to swallow her whole. She flees the store, leaving her groceries behind, her heart hammering against her ribs. Pause here for a moment and ask yourself, where in your life do you feel this energy leaking? That slow, invisible drain from the constant work of upholding the good person mask. What Sarah experienced was not a simple overreaction. It was a desperate act of a repressed self. The parts of her she had labeled unacceptable, the impatient part, the assertive part, the part that values its own time, had been locked away in the shadow. They were starved of light, of air, of acknowledgement. And that 90-second delay at the grocery store was the first time in years those starved parts found a crack to burst through. The monster wasn't the anger. The monster was the persona. The flawless, smiling mask of the good person that demanded absolute perfection and left no room for human imperfection. It created a pressure so immense that the psyche had no choice but to erupt in the most unexpected and often the most inappropriate of places. This is the fundamental law of our inner ecosystem. What you push down will eventually push back, and it will push back with a force proportional to the energy you spent suppressing it. It isn't evil. It is physics. It's the psyche's desperate, clumsy attempt to find balance, to find wholeness. Your outbursts are not a sign that you are a bad person secretly hiding under a good one. They are a sign that the good person you are trying to be is an identity that is far too small to contain the magnificent, complex, and complete human being you truly are. The fortress of goodness wasn't built to protect you. It was built to contain you. And its foundations were laid long before you were even aware of the architect.
That fortress of goodness, the architect was a child. You. It was built not from arrogance, but from a deep, primal need. The need for safety, for connection, for love. As children, we are brilliant survivalists. We are psychic detectives, constantly scanning our environment for one crucial piece of information. What must I do to be loved here? What must I be to be safe? And so we learn. We write a survival manual, page by page, a program that runs silently in the background of our minds for the rest of our lives. Think back to the small moments that wrote your code. Perhaps you were a fiery, passionate child. You felt anger, a clean flash of it, and you expressed it. And an adult voice, deep and final, said, "Don't you use that tone with me." Or worse, they met your fire with an icy wall of silence. And in that moment, a line of code was written. Anger is dangerous. Anger severs connection. To be loved, I must not be angry. A part of you was exiled to the shadow. Perhaps you had a need. You wanted the last cookie. You wanted to play instead of helping. You said, "But I want." And the response came back, "Don't be so selfish." Code written. My needs are a burden. To be good, I must put others first, always. Another part of you, amputated, sent to the shadow. Perhaps you were simply rewarded for being quiet, for being easy. Oh, Chloe is such a good girl, so low maintenance, never any trouble. That praise felt like warmth, like sunshine. Code written. My value comes from my invisibility. My worth is in my lack of needs. The largest, most essential parts of your authentic self willingly escorted into the shadow, believing it was the only way to stay in the light. Pause here and just listen. Can you hear the echo of those old rules running in your mind today? The quiet, automatic script that governs your choices? This is what Carl Jung called the persona, the mask we present to the world. For the child, the persona is a brilliant, necessary tool for survival. It allows us to navigate the complex world of family, school, and society. It helps us fit in. It keeps us safe. But here is the devastating secret. The persona that saved you as a child becomes your prison as an adult. The survival manual is now outdated software. The good person operating system, once a shield, is now a cage. It has a virus, a core corruption, and the error message it produces is that monster in the grocery store, that sudden rage, that inexplicable resentment. Because for every quality you perfected for your good person mask, you had to banish its opposite to the shadow. To be calm, you had to banish your rage. To be generous, you had to banish your needs. To be selfless, you had to banish your legitimate self-interest. To be agreeable, you had to banish your truth. Your shadow is not a basement full of evil monsters. It is a refugee camp for the exiled, beautiful, and essential parts of you. Your anger is not a flaw. It is the part of you that knows your boundaries. Your selfishness is not a sin. It is the part of you that knows you have needs. Your aggression is not a problem. It is the part of you that holds your life force, your power, your drive. The explosion Sarah had in the grocery store was not her monster revealing her true evil self. It was a refugee riot. It was the starved, exiled parts of her soul screaming, "We exist. We are real. We are a part of you, and we will not be ignored any longer." This realization is the beginning of freedom, because it means you are not broken. You are not a bad person. You are a survivor. You developed a brilliant strategy that worked for a time. You built a persona so convincing, so perfect, that you even fooled yourself. You hid parts of yourself away for safekeeping so skillfully that you forgot where you put them. The monster is not the enemy. It is a map. It is a fiercely loyal part of you using the only language it has left, the language of eruption, of crisis, of pain, to point you back to the lost territories of your own soul. It is a cry for integration, a desperate plea to become whole. But to follow that map, we must be willing to walk into the places we swore we would never go again. We must be willing to meet the parts of ourselves we have judged most harshly. And that requires a different kind of courage. Not the courage to be good, but the courage to be real.
The courage to be real. That phrase might sound intimidating. It might feel like you have to suddenly become a different person overnight, to throw away the mask and stand emotionally naked before the world. That is not the path. The work of integrating the shadow, of befriending the monster, does not begin with a dramatic confrontation. It begins with quiet listening. It begins with curiosity. Carl Jung called this process individuation. It is the journey of becoming an individual, meaning a whole, undivided self. It's not about destroying the persona, the good person. You need that mask. It helps you navigate your day. The goal is to stop identifying with the mask, to know that it is a tool you can wear, not the skin you inhabit. So, where do we begin this profound and often frightening work? We begin by turning our attention inward, away from the world's demands and expectations, and toward the monster's whispers. We start to treat our inner world with the same compassion we so freely give to others. Let's go back to Sarah, in the moments after she fled the grocery store. Her first impulse, born from decades of programming, is shame. She replays the scene, her inner critic's voice on a vicious loop. You're a horrible person, uncontrolled, what will they think of you? This is the voice of the persona, desperately trying to regain control, to push the monster back into its cage. But what if for the first time, she did something different? What if she didn't join the inner critic in its attack? What if instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" she asked a new question, a Jungian question. What part of me needed to speak so desperately just now? This one small shift in questioning changes everything. It is a gesture of inner diplomacy. It is an acknowledgement that the eruption was not random chaos, but a message. The question itself creates a space for the answer to arise. In that quiet space, she might hear it. A voice, not of a monster, but of a deeply exhausted part of her. It might say, "I am tired of being invisible. I'm tired of my time having no value." I needed to say, "My needs matter too." It wasn't trying to be cruel. It was trying to be seen. This is the first step of shadow work. It's not about grand gestures. It is about learning to listen to the body, to the emotions, to the sudden impulses that seem to come from nowhere. When you feel that familiar knot of resentment tightening in your stomach as you agree to another favor, pause. Don't just push through it. Put a hand on your stomach. Breathe. And ask it silently, "What do you need to tell me?" When you feel the heat of anger flash across your chest because someone cut you off in traffic, instead of instantly judging it as an overreaction, ask, "What boundary was just crossed here? What part of me feels disrespected?" This is not about acting on every impulse. It is not about yelling at everyone who annoys you. It's about data collection. You are becoming an archaeologist of your own soul. You are gently brushing the dust off the artifacts of your repressed self. Each emotion, each overreaction is a clue. It's a fragment of the map that leads you back to wholeness. A client I once worked with, Tom, a 47-year-old executive known for his unflappable calm, discovered his monster in his dreams. He kept having a recurring dream of a wild wolf snarling and trapped in his pristine minimalist office. For months he dismissed it, but through our work he began to ask the wolf what it wanted. The answer was clear. It wanted to run. It wanted to be wild. It wanted to feel alive. Tom had spent his entire adult life suppressing his own fierce, competitive, and creative energy to be the calm, strategic leader. The wolf wasn't a monster. It was his power, his vitality, his unlived life. He started taking long, rugged hikes on the weekend. He joined a competitive sports league, and something remarkable happened. The dreams of the trapped wolf stopped, and at work, his calm was no longer a brittle mask, but a genuine centeredness, now backed by a new, integrated strength. He hadn't destroyed his persona. He had nourished the opposite. Your monster is your wolf. It holds the very qualities you need to feel fully alive. The fierceness you need to set boundaries, the anger you need to protect your energy, the selfishness you need to honor your own dreams. It's not about unleashing the monster on the world. It's about welcoming it home to yourself. It's about letting the wolf out of its cage, not to attack the village, but to run freely in the forests of your own soul, bringing back a vitality you thought was lost forever. This is how you stop the eruptions, not by building a stronger cage, but by dismantling the cage piece by piece and reclaiming the wild, powerful, and essential energy you locked away inside it. The journey starts now, not with a roar, but a whisper. What is the very next whisper your soul is sending you?
So we arrive here, not at an end, but at a profound beginning. Today we have walked through the architecture of your inner world. We saw how the survival manual of a child became the prison of an adult. We witnessed how the desperate attempt to be only good inadvertently created a pressure cooker for your own repressed power, a power that inevitably erupts as the monster. We learned that this monster, this sudden rage, this shocking resentment, is not a sign of your inherent badness. It is a symptom of your inner division. It is a distress signal from the beautiful, vital, and necessary parts of you that have been exiled for far too long. Your anger, your needs, your assertiveness, they are not flaws to be eliminated. They are essential nutrients for a whole and healthy soul. The journey away from this cycle of repression and eruption doesn't start with changing the world around you. It doesn't start with demanding others treat you better. It begins, and always begins, with a change in your inner posture, from one of self-judgment to one of profound curiosity, from self-criticism to self-compassion. The work is not to slay the monster. The work is to turn toward it, to listen to its whispers before they become a roar, to ask it with genuine sincerity, "What do you need?" and to have the courage to hear the answer. This is the path of integration. It's the slow, patient, and sometimes messy process of dismantling the cage you built for your own protection. It's about understanding that the good person persona is a tool, not your identity, and that your shadow holds the power, the vitality, and the authenticity you've been starving for. By welcoming home these exiled parts, you don't become a bad person. You become a whole person. Your goodness becomes authentic, not performative. Your kindness comes from a place of genuine capacity, not from a fear of disapproval. Your yes becomes powerful, because your no is also available to you. Your first step on this path is not a giant leap. It is a single, quiet breath. It is the next time you feel that inner friction, that resentment, that flash of anger. You don't push it away. You simply acknowledge it. You say silently to yourself, "I see you. You are a part of me. What are you here to tell me?" This is the beginning of reclaiming your power, not from others, but from the shadows within yourself. As you begin this practice, a new, subtle challenge will emerge. When you start to listen to your own needs, when you start to practice saying a gentle no, you might notice that the praise you once received for being so good and so easy begins to quiet down. The world, which was so comfortable with your old persona, might react with confusion or even resistance. But as you begin this work of listening, you might notice something. The monster doesn't just disappear. The overreactions might still happen. The shame might still follow. You now understand why they happen, but you may still feel powerless in the moment they erupt. You might ask yourself, how do I work with this eruption as it happens? How do I decode its specific message right in the heat of the moment? Learning to understand the why is the first step.
Learning to unpack the what, the specific message inside each individual eruption, is the next critical skill on this journey. And that is precisely where we will go in our next conversation. How to become a translator for your own soul by unpacking your overreactions and learning what your shadow is desperately trying to scream. If the story of the inner good person and the outer monster resonated with you, then let this be a moment of acknowledgement, not of shame, but of recognition. Join the conversation in the comments below and share one word that describes how this perspective feels. Is it relief? Is it frightening? Is it freedom? Your journey to wholeness has already begun.